I watched my husband of 12 years walk into a Jacksonville hotel with his hand on another woman's back. 4 years of work trips suddenly made perfect sense. What he didn't know was that I had already photographed the evidence, traced $24,000 missing from our joint account, and refused to sign every document he'd quietly pushed toward me. The night before he left, I cooked his favorite dinner like I always did: jerk chicken, coconut rice, plantains. He kissed me goodbye the next morning and acted like he was heading out for another routine October trip. I packed him snacks, then I watched him leave. I was 37 and owned a physical therapy practice I had built from nothing. I worked 6 days a week. I handled payroll, patients, bills, and most of our household expenses. My husband was a regional sales manager, and he was good at being charming. He could make anyone feel special. That charm had worked on me for years. Every October, he took the same kind of trip. He called it work. He came home with stories about clients, dinners, and long meetings. I rarely questioned him because I was usually too busy keeping our actual life running. Then small things stopped matching. Money moved out of our joint account. Not enough at once to trigger panic. Just enough to disappear under groceries, utilities, business expenses, and everything else I checked each month. But I'm not careless with numbers. Eventually, I went back. One transfer led to another, then another. By the time I finished, the total was around $24,000. I stared at the screen, then I started taking pictures. Around the same time, he began bringing papers home. Nothing dramatic, just boring documents slid across the table while I was answering emails or eating late. "Can you sign this real quick?" I didn't. I said I'd look at it later and put it aside. He asked again. I still didn't sign. That was when I stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. I checked dates, I checked accounts, I checked his travel pattern. 4 October trips, 4 years. The same window every time. Suddenly, the routine that had seemed boring looked rehearsed. So I rented a car and drove to Jacksonville. I didn't call him. I didn't warn him. I parked outside the hotel and waited. Then I saw him. He walked through the lobby doors, relaxed and smiling. His hand rested on the back of a woman walking beside him. Not a coworker. Not some client greeting. Her. Everything slowed down. First, he leaned closer. Then she laughed. Next, his hand stayed on her back. He never looked over his shoulder. I lifted my phone. One photo. Then another. Then one more. My hands were completely steady. I had spent 4 years cooking his favorite meal before those trips. 4 years kissing him goodbye. 4 years covering bills while he was gone. And there he was, walking into a hotel with another woman while money from our life had been quietly disappearing. He thought I was too busy to notice. He was right about one thing. I was busy. I was just not stupid. I didn't storm into the lobby. I didn't scream his name. I didn't give him a scene he could later twist against me. Instead, I stayed in the car. I photographed what I could. I saved the account records. I kept every unsigned document. Then I drove home. He came back expecting the same wife he had left. The one who cooked for him, covered the bills, trusted his explanations, made his life easy. He didn't get her. I didn't confront him with one blurry photo and give him time to invent a story. I didn't ask, "Who is she?" when I already knew enough. I had built my business by identifying problems before they became disasters. My marriage had become a problem, so I treated it like one. The part that got me most wasn't even the hotel. It was the confidence. He moved money, repeated the same trip for years, and handed me papers to sign because he assumed I would keep moving through life on autopilot. He thought love made me easy to manage. It didn't. It just made me slower to suspect him. Once I did, that advantage disappeared. I kept thinking about the last dinner I made before Jacksonville. He sat at our table eating his favorite food while already knowing where he was going. I had even packed leftovers for him. The disrespect was almost impressive. He had mistaken care for blindness. That was his biggest mistake. By the time he realized I had noticed, I had the photos, the money trail, and every paper he wanted signed. And my signature? Still nowhere on them. He spent years assuming I would never look closely. All it took was 1 October for me to finally do it. Would you have confronted him in that hotel lobby, or stayed quiet until every piece of evidence was locked down?